Okay. Welcome back to Yoga for the People. I'm Shin Berkowitz with PROMO, Missouri's statewide LGBTQ equality organization. This month, PROMO is reimagining the potentials in celebrating, honoring, and taking action during Pride by showing up where you are. Today is our last yoga session with Kristen Trudo, where we continue honoring the need for moments to pause, to turn inward, and to appreciate our authenticity. By exploring yoga fundamentals and alignment in a safe and supportive environment, Kristen will provide ways for you to reflect, take space, and celebrate you. After yoga, we encourage you to continue championing our work by pledging to vote for Pride with Pride. This helps us ensure that Missourians can reach its full potential in gaining equality for Missourians. And I will drop the link into our pledge for our pledge in the chat for those of you who are in the WebEx with us and in the Facebook Live for people who are there. If you will bear with me for one moment while I switch the view. Kristen will start with us momentarily. Cool. Ready to go.
All right, thanks. Okay, thanks, Shira. Happy to be here again for our third and final class together. We will go ahead and get started on our backs, but briefly, I just want to show you a few, actually probably just one cue that I'll be directing. First of all, any cues that I offer, they are given like as directives, but I always make sure to take care of your body. So if that doesn't work for you for whatever reason, do something that does. But I give them as directives just for efficiency's sake and for clarity's sake, really. So one of the cues that I'll be giving is to when your hands are on the mat. So in down dog and any like arm balances, that kind of thing. You want to be pushing down through index knuckle and base of thumb. We have I think more of a natural tendency to push on the outer edge of our hands. So our hands kind of like cup like this and round out. So instead, do try to push through the inner edge of your hand. So I'll be cueing that a lot, but I just wanted to bring attention to it so that it is familiar. Another cue will be with shoulders. So when you're moving, I'll say to move your shoulders onto your back towards your spine. And this is just to open up their heart openers, chest openers. So you'll move your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your back. Your elbows will point in towards one another, and sometimes we'll interlace. Sometimes it'll be in this type of posture. But when I'm saying to move your shoulders onto your back, it's up and then squeezing onto your back towards each other, so towards the midline. And finally, the last one will just be low belly engagement. So the cue will either be to press your belly button towards your spine. So if you want to practice that action, just feel what that feels like, or to move your hip bones towards each other. So this is more, it's kind of a heady one, but for me, it helps to kind of demonstrate what area we're trying to get into. So if you just imagine the action of pulling your hip bones towards each other, they won't move. But if you just imagine that low belly area is where we are trying to engage, and that'll help to protect the low back and help with different balancing postures. So I'll practice with you for most of this. I am outside. My computer cut out a few days ago when I was practicing outside. It just got too hot. I think it's fine today. It's in the shade, but if it does, I'll be back with you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I will practice with you for the most part. So if you are unsure about any verbal cues that I'm doing, you can just glance up here. So if everyone can start on their backs, I'm going to grab my watch really quick. So please come to lying on your back, and you can have your head facing whatever direction feels most comfortable to you. And I invite you to just take a moment to arrive here. Our days offer so many different energies for us from one moment to the next. I spent about 2 hours this morning just practicing, moving through a flow that had been sent to me, and then I got some news about work, about my job, and my energy just shifted completely right before I came here today. So rather than bringing all of that with us onto the mat, I invite you, if you are having like a similar moment or similar energy shifts, I invite you to let those go in this moment. Begin to notice your breath as you inhale. Notice where it moves throughout your body. Notice if it feels shallow, if it feels deep. And doing this without judgment or attachment, not trying to force it to be anything that it is not, but just greeting yourself and your breath as you are in this moment. When you're ready, I would invite you to begin to take a deeper breath in from your belly and to exhale completely through your mouth. Take another deep inhale from your belly and exhale completely through your mouth. And one more deep inhale from your belly. Exhale completely through your mouth. Now, please come to, if you're lying on your back, please bend your knees, bring the soles of your feet to your mat about hip distance apart. Press both shoulders into the ground and then bring your arms either to a T if you have the space so that your wrists are in line with your shoulders, or to cactus arms, so bending at your elbows, placing the backs of your hands onto the mat. Take a deep inhale here, feel that through your torso. And on your exhale, keep your shoulders pressing into the ground, but take your knees over to the right. Bring some attention to the stretch from your left hip bone all the way up to your left armpit. And see if you can find some room there. Move your left hip bone down towards your heels. Inhale, take your knees up through center. And on your exhale, take them over to the left. This time, finding the stretch from your right hip bone up to your right armpit. And drawing your right hip bone towards your heels. Inhale, bring your knees back up through center. We'll go one more time each side rather. Take your knees over to the right, keep pressing your shoulders down. Draw your knees down towards the mat and then away from you. Draw your left hip bone down. Inhale, come back up through center. On your exhale, take your knees over to the left. Draw your right hip bone away from you towards your heels. Draw your knees away from you and down towards the mat. Inhale, back up through center. Keep your legs bent to start. Draw your right knee in towards your torso. And I just heard a cue this morning that I really liked. So holding onto your shin, draw your leg towards your torso and then up towards your head. This will help deepen the stretch. Once you have that engagement, go ahead and take your knee a little bit outside of your torso towards your armpit and pull along that line. Keep drawing your right heel down towards your glutes. This will keep your knee joint engaged. And then you can keep your left leg bent or take it out towards straight. This will again offer a deeper stretch here. Take a deep inhale here. On your exhale, release your leg back down to the mat. Bring the soles of both feet back down to the mat and then switch sides. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Draw your left knee into your torso and up towards your head. And then take it outside of your torso, so it's at a bit of an angle, your heel coming in towards your groin. Draw your heel towards your glute to close your left knee joint, and then keep pulling along that line of your knee. And again, you can keep your right knee bent or take it out towards straight. Release your leg back down to the mat. Please come on to hands and knees. So this will be our first opportunity to find that engagement in our hands. So this is the cue. Press down through index knuckle, base of thumb. both hands. And then press down through your fingertips. Make sure that your wrists are directly under your shoulders and that your knees are directly under your hips. And press the tops of your feet into the ground. Flare your fourth and fifth toes out and then press them into the ground as much as you can. This is tabletop position. Inhale here, squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears and then in towards your spine. Then begin to move them down your spine to extend your chest forward. Extend the crown of your head forward. From here, begin to lift your tailbone up. Squeeze your inner thighs towards each other. Squeeze your calves towards each other. And this will engage the inseam of your legs. This is cow position. Exhale, press down through the mat. Round down to your shoulders. Round your back. Tuck your tailbone in. Almost moving it, making the action, moving it up towards your belly button. Inhale, elbows onto your back. Lift your tailbone up. Extend your chest and the crown of your head forward. Exhale, back to cat position. Keep pressing down through the index knuckle and the base of your thumb, the inner edge of your hands. Round your shoulders here, tuck your tailbone in. Press down through the tops of your feet. One more round. Inhale, come back through cow. Squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears and then bring them down your spine to open up your chest. Exhale, round through your shoulders. Tuck your tailbone in, press the tops of your feet into the ground. From here, please come into a neutral spine. Actually keep your hands pressing into the ground. Take your right leg out behind you so that it is parallel with the ground and in line with your hip. Squeeze your inner thighs towards each other. Squeeze your calves towards each other to engage the inseam of both legs. Keep pressing down through your hands and then press down. Find cat in your shoulders. Inhale here. Bring your knee in towards your forehead. Keep pressing down through your left foot. Keep pressing your right heel towards your glute. Take your leg back out to straight. Bring your knee to your right armpit outside of your right arm. You'll even begin to move forward of your wrist here. Take your leg back out to straight. And last one, bring your knee to your opposite elbow. Keep pressing your right ankle, your right heel towards your right glute. Take your leg back out to straight. Bring your knee back down to the ground. Finding engagement in your hands again. I can feel my wrist getting sore, which means I could probably benefit from pressing down more through the inner edge of my hands. Take your left leg out towards straight. Inhale here. On your exhale, bring your knee in towards your forehead. Press your left heel towards your glutes. Round through your shoulders like cat. Take your leg back out to straight. Inhale here. On your exhale, bring your knee towards your armpit, working it all the way up your arm and outside of your left arm. Take your leg back out to straight. For your final one, inhale here. On your exhale, bring your knee to the opposite elbow. Round down through your shoulders. Kick your heel towards your glutes. Take your leg back out to straight. Knee back down to the mat. Bring your big toes to touch here. Take your knees out wider than your hips. Begin to walk your hands about a handprint forward. And then inhale here, move your shoulders up towards your ears. Move them onto your back, squeeze them towards each other, and then move them down your back to bring your chest forward. Inhale here. On your exhale, press back into Balasana, child's pose, bringing your hips down towards your heels. You can bring your forehead and the tip of your nose to the mat or to a block, to a blanket, whatever you have access to. If that's not accessible to you, you can keep your head lifted and gaze forward here. In Balasana, lift your wrists up towards the sky. Lift your elbows up, lift your upper arms up. Keep squeezing your shoulders onto your back. This will move your chest forward. Keep pressing your hips back towards your heels. Inhale back up to table. Tuck your toes. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Come up onto your tiptoes to start, bringing your heels over your toes even. Take your feet out wide so that the pinky toe touches the edge of your mat. Press down into your mat with your hands. Lift your wrists up, elbows up, upper arms up. Squeeze your shoulders onto your back. Begin to press your belly button towards your inner thighs to lift your tailbone up. Keep up on your tiptoes. Lift your tailbone up a little bit more. Keep squeezing your shoulders onto your back. You can stay here or begin to straighten your legs. And then you can stay here or begin to move your heels down towards the mat. Inhale, come back into table pose. Exhale, Balasana. Inhale to table. Exhale, downward facing dog. Keep pressing down through index knuckle, base of thumb. Move your belly button towards your inner thighs. Inhale to table. Exhale, child's pose, Balasana. Inhale to table. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, gaze forward, walk your feet forward to the top of your mat. Come into a half lift by moving your hands about 1.5 feet in front of your feet. And extend your chest forward. Move your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your back, squeeze them towards each other. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you need to get the palms of your hands onto the floor outside of your feet. Let your head hang. Press your belly button towards your spine. Press your hands down and forward to find a hamstring stretch here. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your torso up. Bring your arms overhead, gaze up. Bring your hands down through center, Tadasana. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, press back into plank. Press down through the inner edges of your hands. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Lower down to a hover. Come all the way down to the ground. Move your hands back, a single handprint. Squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your spine. Lift your torso up. Cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your feet forward to your hands, coming to a half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your torso upright, bring your arms overhead, hands down through center, Tadasana. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, press back into plank. Lower down slowly through chaturanga to a hover. Come all the way down to the ground. Move your hands back a handprint. Shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your spine and down. Press down through your hands. Press down through the tops of your feet. Cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. Come into a half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your torso upright. Hands down through center. Stand in Tadasana. Come to standing at the top of your mat. And then interlace your hands at your low back here. Bring some attention to your feet. Come to bring your feet either together or hip distance apart if you have any low back issues. Press down fully through both feet. Tighten your kneecaps, so lift them up towards the sky, and then tone your thighs. Make the action of squeezing your shins towards each other, which should engage your inner legs. Now for your arms, interlace at your back. Move your shoulders up towards your ears, and then onto your back. Squeeze them towards each other, and then move your shoulders down. Squeeze your elbows towards each other. You can stay here or begin to extend your arms towards straight as long as your shoulders do not round forward. So we want to create as much room here between the front of our chest and our shoulders as possible. Release your arms back down to your side. This time, take your feet hip distance apart if they're not already, Interlace your fingers again at your low back, but this time switch the dominant finger. So if your left finger and thumb, left index finger and thumb are usually on top, put your right on top instead. Squeeze your elbows towards each other, find the engagement in your legs, lift your kneecaps, tone your thighs, squeeze your shins towards each other. Lift your shoulders up towards the sky and then onto your back, squeeze them together and then move them down your back to open up your chest. Squeeze your elbows together, stay here, or move your arms towards straight as long as you can keep your upper arms as they are. Press your belly button towards your spine here, move your hip bones towards each other. Stay here or put a slight bend in your knees and then fold forward, bending from your hips. Get your torso on your upper thighs. Keep squeezing your arms towards each other. Make the action of ripping your hands apart without actually doing so. This will engage your upper shoulders. Press down through your feet, lift your torso up, and release your hands. Come back to standing at the top of your mat. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step your right foot back behind you and place your knee on the ground. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Make the action of squeezing your shins towards the midline to engage the inseam of both legs. Lift your torso up. Squeeze your hip bones towards each other. Press your belly button towards your spine. Lift your arms up. See if you can sit a little bit deeper. Place your hands back down on the ground. Switch sides. Place your left knee on the ground. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Lift your arms up. See if you can sit a little bit. Place your hands back down on the mat. Bring your feet together, lift up halfway, and then forward fold. Come back up to standing with your arms overhead, hands down through center, and Tadasana. So bring your feet together or hip distance apart for any low back stuff. Bring your hands in line with your shoulders. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze them onto your back and down. Now turn your palms up towards the sky and twist all the way from your shoulders rather than just at your wrists. Twist from your shoulders to open up your arms. Tuck your chin in toward your throat and then lift your arms overhead. Interlace them up top and then release your index finger. Move your arms back so that your upper arms are in line with your ears or even behind them. Press your belly button toward your spine. Engage your legs. Inhale here. On your exhale, bend to your right. You can stay here, press down through your left leg. Take your right leg out to the side. Bring your leg back down to the ground. Keep your arms overhead. Bring them back towards straight. Inhale here, lift up. Exhale, bend to the left. And again, you can stay here or take your left leg out to the side. Release your hands back down. Shift your weight into your left leg. Grab hold of your right ankle and either place it at your ankle, your calf, or at your inner thigh. Anywhere but your knee, do not press your foot into your knee. Press your standing leg and the sole of your right foot into each other a lot. Bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, lift your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your back. Stay here or lift your arms overhead. Try to bring your upper arms behind your ears or alongside your ears. Bring your hands down through center. Release your hands. Release your foot with control and then switch sides. Shift your weight into your right foot. Lift your right kneecap. Tone your right thigh. Bring the sole of your left foot somewhere along your leg that is not your kneecap. And then bring your hands to heart center. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your back. Press your belly button towards your spine for balance. Stay here or lift your arms overhead. Bring your hands down through center. Release your leg with control. Bring your feet together. Release your hands out to the side and then overhead. And then swing your right arm underneath your left so that they're crossed at the elbows. You can stay here grabbing both shoulders if you have tight shoulders, or you can take the wrap with the back of your hands touching, or a second wrap with your palms moving towards one another. So eagle arms, bring your elbows in towards your belly button, press your belly button towards your spine, round through your shoulders. Inhale here, squeeze your legs towards each other, squeeze your shins towards each other, and sit. Try to bring your thighs towards parallel with the ground, and then keep pressing your elbows towards your belly button, but see if you can lift your torso up towards straight. Find your breath here, bring some attention to it. Come back up to standing, release your arms overhead, and exhale, bring your left arm underneath your right. Find the wrap that works for you. Draw your elbows in towards your belly button. Bring your belly button in towards your spine. Round through your shoulders. Squeeze your hip bones towards each other. Stay here or bend in your knees. Come to a seat. Trying to bring your thighs towards parallel. Keep moving your elbows towards your belly button. Stay here or lift your torso towards straight. And notice your breath. Press down through your feet. Come back up to standing. Lift your arms overhead to release them. Exhale. Step to the top of your mat and forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, press back into plank. Come all the way down to the mat. Interlace your fingers at your low back. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your back, squeezing towards each other. Stay here or bring your arms towards straight. Press down through the tops of your feet so much so that your kneecaps lift. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Inhale here. On your exhale, press down through your pelvis. Lift your chest up, lift your legs up. Lower back down, press back into downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to meet your hands, come into a half lift. Exhale, step your right hand behind you. Step your right foot behind you. Drop your right knee to the ground. Make the action of squeezing your legs towards each other. Press your belly button toward your spine. Lift your torso up. Take your arms overhead. Bend at your elbows. Lift your shoulders up onto your back. Squeeze them towards each other. Inhale here. On your exhale, see if you can bend a little bit deeper. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Switch sides. Right foot forward, left foot back. Bring your left knee to the ground. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Press your belly button towards your spine. Lift your torso up. Bring your arms overhead. Bend at your elbows. Bringing them in line with your shoulders. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze them onto your back. Inhale here. On your exhale, see if you can sit a little bit deeper. Release the pose. Come back into downward facing dog. Slide forward into plank. Bring your knees to the mat to start. Come into table. Walk your left hand about a handprint forward. Press down through the inner edge of your left hand and through your left fingertips. Turn onto your left hand and your right foot. For a variation of side plank, you can keep your hand on your hip or bring your hand up. And then you can stay here or make sure you're pressing down firmly through the palm, through the inner edge of your left hand. Lift both feet up. Balasana. Lift your hips up. Squeeze your hip bones towards each other. Squeeze your shoulders onto your back. Bring your right hand back down to the mat. Down dog for a moment. Slide forward into plank. Drop your knees to the ground, second side. Walk your right hand forward about a handprint. Come onto the inner edge of your right hand and then come onto right hand, left foot. Come into this variation of Shavasana to start. Press your belly button towards your spine. Stay here or lift both legs up. Bring your left hand back down to the mat. Press back into downward facing dog. Come to your knees. Press back into child's pose for 1 moment. Press up from child's pose. Press back into downward facing dog. Gaze forward. Walk your feet to the front of your mat. Come into a half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your torso upright. Bring your arms overhead. Hands down through center, Tadasana. Take a wide stance, please. So wide stance, you want to try to bring your ankles directly under your wrists. If you see that it's a little bit short, do try to bring it a little bit wider. Bring your wrists in line with your shoulders. Squeeze your shoulders up. Squeeze them onto your back. Press your hip bones towards each other and then press down through both feet. Lift both kneecaps. Tone both thighs. Turn your right foot out 90 degrees. Keep your torso as it is and then bend into your right knee, trying to bring your knee directly over your ankle and not beyond it. If it is going beyond your ankle, try to take your stance to be a little bit longer or lay off the bend. You don't want to hyperextend your knee here. Try to bring your right thigh towards parallel with the ground and then gaze over your right hand. Take your left arm behind you, turn your right palm up. Keep bending into your right knee. Come back into reverse warrior. Keep bending into your right knee. Lift your torso up. Bring your right forearm to your right thigh. Come into side plank. Not side plank, I'm sorry. Side angle. Extended side angle pose. Press down through your forearm so that you're not dumping into your shoulders. Squeeze your shoulders onto your back. Press your belly button towards your spine. Lift your torso up. Switch on your feet. Turn your right foot in. Turn your left foot out. Square your torso. Bend into your left knee. Bringing your left knee directly over your ankle and not beyond it. Try to bring your left thigh towards parallel with the ground. Keep your torso as it is. Squeeze your shoulders onto your back. Gaze over your left hand. Inhale here. See if you could sit a little bit deeper on your exhale and then bring your right hand behind your back. Turn your left palm up. Bend into your left knee. Fold back into reverse warrior. Lift your torso up. Bring your left forearm to your leg. Press into your forearm, into your thigh. Bring your right arm alongside your ear for extended side angle, second side. Press down through your feet, come back up to standing. Step your feet together and come to a seat. We're gonna do reverse table here with an offering to do some leg lifts. If you know that your wrists tend to feel a little, uncomfortable or painful in a pose like this, then I would invite you to just come onto your forearms like you would in bridge, and you'll work from here. Okay. Otherwise, bring your hands about 6 inches behind your hips. Bring your feet so that they're hip distance apart. Point your fingertips towards the long edges of your mat and press down through the inner edges of both hands. Squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears and then onto your spine. Move them down your back. This should lift your chest up pretty significantly. Keep pressing down through your hands. Avoid dumping into your shoulders, and then lift your hips up so that they're coming towards in line with your shoulders. Shift your weight into your left leg. Lift your right leg out towards parallel with the ground. Lower it down to a hover. Lift up. Lower it down to a hover. Lift up. And last one, lower it down to a hover. Lift up. Drop your right leg back down to the ground. Lift your hips up. Bring your left leg out towards straight. Lower it down to a hover. Lift up. Lower it down to a hover. Lift up. And lower it down to a hover. Lift up. Drop your leg back down to the ground. Lift your hips. Drop your hips back down to the ground. Press back into downward facing dog, please. Gaze forward at the front of your mat. Walk to the top of your mat. Come into a half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your torso upright. Bring your arms overhead. Hands down through center, Tadasana. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step your right foot behind you. Bring your right knee to the ground. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Bring your hands to your hips. Lift your torso upright. Press your belly button towards your spine. Lift your arms overhead. Squeeze your shoulders onto your back. See if you can sit a little bit deeper. You can stay here or tuck your back toes if they're not. Lift your back leg up for high lunge. Find your breath here. Stay here or bring your right hand inside of your left foot. Press down to the inner edge of your right hand. Turn your torso open for Revolve Lunge. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Switch feet. Step your right foot forward. Step your left leg back. Drop your left knee to the mat. Press your belly button towards your spine here. Lift your torso upright. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Lift your arms overhead. Squeeze your arms onto your back. Inhale here. On your exhale, see if you can sit more deeply. Stay here or lift your back leg up for high lunge. Engage your left glute and then stay here or bring your left hand inside of your right foot and turn open for Revolve Lunge. Bring your hand back down to the mat, press back into down dog. Bring your knees to the ground, come onto your back, please. Gonna do some brief ab movement. You can either bring your hands behind your head and interlace them there, or if you have any low back stuff, you can tuck them underneath your glutes. That's what I tend to do. So press your hip bones towards each other to engage your low belly. Press your arms into the ground. Inhale here, keep your legs together, tighten your kneecaps, tone your thighs. Go ahead and point your feet here. Inhale here, on your exhale, bring your legs hover about 6 inches above the ground. Breathe fully here. Lift them up a little bit more, about halfway. And then bring them all the way to 90 degrees. Find your breath here. Lower them back down halfway. Engage your low belly. Press your hip bones towards each other. Lower down to a hover. Stay here. Inhale here. On your exhale, lift them up halfway. Inhale here. On your exhale, lift them up 90 degrees. Lower down to a hover. Lower down all the way. Turn over, come onto your belly, please. Bring your hands in line with your shoulders out to a T. Press the tops of your feet into the ground. Slide your hands towards you to squeeze your shoulders onto your back. Inhale here. On your exhale, press your pelvis down. Lift your torso up, lift your legs up. See if you can lift your torso a little bit more. Lift your legs a little bit more. Extend your chest forward. Lower down. We're gonna do bow pose as our final belly down back bend. If you know bow is not accessible to you right now, you can do locust, which is this. Otherwise, bend your knees one at a time and grab hold of your feet with your hands. Bring your legs together to start. So in bow pose, we'll press our feet into our hands, pull our hands back into our feet, and lift our thighs off the ground. To start, squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears, squeeze them onto your back. This should lift your chest a little bit. Press your feet into your hands a lot. Press down through your pelvis. Inhale here, lift your thighs up, lift your chest up. Press your feet into your hands. Press your hands back into your feet. And lower down. Stack your hands on top of each other. Rest your forehead for a moment to rest. And then press back into downward facing dog, please. Walk your feet forward in between your hands into a half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come back up to standing. And come into a wide stance. If you know you need a block for triangle pose or half moon, I'd invite you to grab that here. A block, a book, a water bottle, they all work. So come back into your wide stance. Turn your right foot out 90 degrees. Tighten both kneecaps, tone both thighs. Keep your torso as it is here. Squeeze your shoulders onto your back. Take your hips to the left. Extend your right hand past your right foot. Drop your right hand to the ground or to a block. If you can't reach either, you can place it on your shin, but don't push down into your shin. If you're pushing into a block or into the ground, you can push down to turn your torso open and to bring your shoulders to stack. Press down through both feet and out. Stay in triangle or bend into your front knee. Walk your right hand forward about a foot. Hop your back leg forward just for a moment. And then from here, press into your front leg, press into your back leg. Lift up into half moon. Your torso should be in the same shape or moving towards the same shape as we aim for in triangle. Not rounding forward. You should be opening up if possible with your shoulders stacking. Try to bring your top leg in line with your hip. Press your belly button towards your spine for more balance. Bend your front knee, lower down. Come back into your wide stance. Turn your left foot out 90 degrees. Tighten both kneecaps, tone both thighs. Keep your torso as it is here. Send your hips to the right. Take your left hand out past your left foot and then drop it down outside of your left foot where like your left ankle is, or onto your left shin without pressing into it. Press down and back into the ground to open up your torso. Press down and out from your feet. Protect your knees. Bend into your left knee. Walk your hand forward a few inches. Hop your back foot forward. Press down into your front leg, down into your back foot. And open up into half moon second side. Try to bring your straight back leg in line with your hips. All right, sneeze. Drop your leg back down to the ground. Press back into down dog. And slide forward. Walk your feet forward a few inches so that you're in a squat. Excuse me. Ooh, okay. So bring your big toes to touch if possible. And then take your knees out wide in this squat. Try to keep your hips pretty low to the ground to start. They may lift up. Go ahead and grab the long edges of your mat here. And you can use your mat, pull it forward to drop your hips back down. If you know you have low back stuff, don't try to force this, but it'll just help to get your hips closer to the ground to start. From here, walk the upper arms in towards your legs and take your elbows out kind of wide so that it makes a shelf for your shin. My legs are tucked all the way into my armpit. I can feel my armpit on my legs. Bring your hands about shoulder distance apart here. Press down through the inner edge of both legs. Make the action of squeezing your ankles towards each other. You'll feel that engage your full legs. That's what we're going here for here, that our legs are squeezing in towards the midline. Engage your low belly, and then you can begin to slide forward, coming up onto your tiptoes, and lift one toe or lift both, and just kind of play with that here. In crow, Balasana. If you fall out, go ahead and try again. We'll give it about another minute or so. And when you're ready, you can press back into downward facing dog. From down dog, go ahead and come to your knees for a moment while I show the next pose. This will be our final one, and then we'll kind of head downhill from here. So from down dog, come into plank, walk your hand forward. I'll start on this side. Walk your left hand forward, come into side plank. You can stay here or step your top leg behind you, come onto the sole of your bottom leg, open up into a back bend, squeeze your shoulders onto your back, lift your hips up for wild thing. So come back into downward facing dog. We'll start with our left side. Slide forward into plank, walk your left hand forward, come on to left hand, left foot, Shavasana, side plank. This is a great place to stay. Just keep your hips lifted or step your right foot back behind you. Come onto the sole of your left foot, lift your hips up, squeeze your shoulders onto your back, take your right arm back behind you. Come back into plank, quick down dog, slide forward into plank again, come onto your right side, Shavasana, stay here, take your left foot behind you, lift your hips up, press down through the inner edge of your right hand, wild thing. Press back into downward facing dog. Lift your right leg out behind you. Take your right knee to the outside of your right wrist so that your leg is at a bit of a diagonal. It doesn't need to be parallel with the front edge of your mat. I think the full expression of this pose is that your right heel actually touches your left hip bone. So if that gives you any indication of the angle. Gaze back behind you. Make sure that your straight leg is in line with the long edge of your mat. Stay up. Keep your torso lifted, or inhale here. On your exhale, fold forward. Lift your torso up. Press back into downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up this time, and then take your left leg in towards your chest and out towards the outer edge of your left wrist. Again, see if you can aim for heel to right hip bone, and then stay lifted. Gaze back to make sure that your right leg is straight. Stay here, fold forward. Press back into downward facing dog. Come down to your knees and then make your way onto your back, please. Bring your feet about hip distance apart. And then lift your hips up. Begin to walk your shoulders in towards your spine like we've been working on, so that your upper arms are below your torso and pressing into the ground. Interlace your hands underneath your glute, and then make the action of pressing your full arm into the ground to lift your chest up. Lift your chest up towards your chin. Lift the crown of your head away from your chin. Press down through your feet to lift your hips up. Make the action of pulling your heels towards your head and extending your knees even past your ankles for bridge pose. Lower down. Place your hands somewhere on your torso that gives you rest, gives you comfort. Keep your knees bent, the soles of your feet onto the floor. Bend your right knee in towards your chest and interlace your fingers behind your leg at your hamstring. Bring your leg towards straight, the sole of your foot parallel with the ground and with the ceiling. Your kneecap, tone your thigh. Stack your ankle so that it's above your hip and not moving too close to your head. This isn't a hamstring stretch. It's just meant to stabilize your leg. And then you can stay here or take your left leg out towards straight for more of a stretch as well. Keep your leg straight. Release your hands. Stretch your foot back down to the ground. Bend your knees, placing the soles of your feet onto the floor. Inhale here. Take your knee in towards your chest, your left knee. Interlace your fingers at your left hamstring. Turn your foot towards parallel with the ceiling. Press your leg into your hands back into your leg. Stay here or take your right leg out to straight for a deeper stretch. Keep your legs straight, release your hands, stretch your leg back down to the mat. Bend both knees, place the soles of your feet onto the floor. Take your right ankle onto your left knee. Make the action of pressing your inner ankle towards you, lifting it up. That'll engage the outer edge of your right shin. Stay here with this stretch. This is a fine place to stay, or bring your legs in towards your chest. Interlace your hands either at your left thigh or at your left shin. Release your legs back down to the mat. Switch sides. Left ankle to right thigh. Stay here or bring your legs in towards your chest and interlace your hands around your right hamstring or your right shin. Bring your legs back down to the mat. Inhale, bring your legs in towards your chest. Lift your shoulders off the ground. Wrap your arms around your legs and come into a tight ball. Take a deep inhale here. On your exhale, release everything down to the ground. Take a full body stretch for a moment. And then begin to bring yourself into a comfortable position for rest. Use whatever props you need. We have a few moments left, and I would like to offer this opportunity for rest here and for stillness. Shavasana is an opportunity and an invitation for stillness, not only of the body after practicing, but of the mind. So if you find that you have thoughts that are coming, I invite you to just kind of let them go. And take a deep breath here and exhale completely. And take a few moments to rest in your Shavasana. I will call you back in just a moment. Please begin to deepen your breath. Bring some awareness back into your body. Wiggle your fingers, your toes. Small, gentle movements. When you're ready, please bend your knees one at a time, placing the soles of your feet onto the floor. Take a deep breath and then take both arms overhead. And then roll onto whichever side feels most comfortable. Allow your body to be heavy and then press up into a seat, either facing your screen or somewhere in your home that brings you comfort. Come into a comfortable seat. I invite you to bring your hands to heart center as a gesture of honor towards yourself, towards each other, towards this practice. Thank you for being here. Until next time.